My father didn't knock. He stood in my doorway, in the bedroom I painted myself, and said, "Vacate the room." Not "can you," not "we need to talk," not even my name. Behind him stood my older brother Marcus, arms folded, and his 7 months pregnant wife Tiffany, who I had met exactly once at their rushed backyard wedding. Tiffany scanned my bedroom like she was touring a rental property. Then she said, "It would be better if you left the house altogether." My father nodded. My mother stood in the hallway holding 3 flattened cardboard boxes. The same brand, the same size, the same boxes I used when I moved in 4 years earlier. She had kept them. That's when I understood something that changed me permanently. This wasn't temporary. This had always been the plan. But what they didn't know, what they would discover 12 days later, is that you can't evict the owner. And when they found out, Tiffany called me at 11:03 p.m., voice shaking. Tell me it's not true. But before we get there, let me take you back to the day I signed the deed. March 14th, Springfield, Massachusetts, State Street Title Company. The pen was cheap, blue ballpoint, chewed at the end. I signed the most expensive document of my life with it. "Congratulations, Miss Brennan," the notary said. "It's all yours." All mine. Sabrina E. Brennan, the only name on the deed. No cosigner, no co-owner, no safety net. I was 25 years old, freshly licensed civil engineer, $72,000 salary, $234,000 FHA loan, $2,340 per month, 30-year commitment. The house was more than I needed. 3 bedrooms, 2 stories, half-finished basement, a maple tree that dropped leaves like confetti every October. I didn't need 3 bedrooms, but my parents did. My father, Gerald Brennan, had just sold the mobile home they'd lived in for 11 years. Retired plumber, bad back, $1,480 monthly disability check. My mother, Donna, no income, ceramic rooster, collection. Quiet loyalty to my father. They had nowhere to go, so I made room. The deal was simple. They would move in, contribute to utilities. We would be a family under one roof. There was no lease, just trust, and that was my first mistake. To understand what happened next, you need to understand the structure of my family. Marcus Brennan, 33, charming in a surface-level way, salesman at Riverside Motors, perpetually almost successful. My father adored him. Gerald's worldview was simple. Sons carry the name, daughters carry the groceries. Marcus was the future. I was the infrastructure. When Marcus graduated community college, after 3 attempts and a D- in statistics, my father threw a backyard barbecue. 16 guests. Banner, "Proud of you, son." Block letters. When I graduated from UMass Amherst with honors in civil engineering, my father sent a text. "Good for you, kid." No punctuation, no celebration. When I passed the professional engineering exam, a license fewer than 25% of graduates earn, my mother said, "That's nice, honey. Your brother just got promoted to senior sales." Senior sales at a used car lot. Marcus carried $38,000 in credit card debt at the time. Gerald didn't know or pretended not to. What I know for certain is this. Gerald lent Marcus money quietly, $5,000 here, $3,000 there, then turned around and asked me, "Help with bills this month, sweetheart?" And I always said yes, because infrastructure holds everything up, and nobody notices it until it's gone. Let's talk about numbers, because numbers don't lie. Over 4 years, 48 mortgage payments at $2,340 equals $112,320. Utilities average $670 per month equals $32,160. Roof repair equals $4,200. Basement heating equals $3,100. Exterior paint twice equals sweat equity plus $1,800 materials. Conservatively, $147,000 plus invested into that house, from my paycheck, from my overtime, from my weekends. My parents paid nothing, not once. But that wasn't what broke me. What broke me was the basement. After the vacate the room order, I moved downstairs. The basement I had personally insulated, bare concrete walls, 1 pull chain bulb, faint mildew scent, slow pipe drip in the corner. I dragged my mattress down, no frame, just floor. That night at 3:12 a.m., the pipe joint seeped. Water spread across the concrete into the mattress through my sweatshirt. I lay there staring at the ceiling, which was their floor, and I thought, I am paying $2,340 a month to sleep in a puddle beneath my own house. Upstairs, Tiffany rearranged my bedroom into a nursery. The next day, she posted on Instagram, "Family always makes room for the next generation, 212 likes." No one asked whose room it had been. On the third morning, I went upstairs for coffee. Tiffany looked at me and said, "Oh, you're still here?" That was the moment, the exact moment. I realized love and ownership are not the same thing, and I owned something they didn't respect, but I still didn't know what they had done. That came on a Tuesday. I was sitting in my car at lunch when my phone buzzed. Credit monitoring alert. New lien detected on property. My stomach dropped. $95,000. Greenfield Credit Union. Borrower, Sabrina E. Brennan. I stared at it, then opened the document. It was my name, but not my signature. The capital B was wrong. The E was printed. I always use cursive. And on the witness line, Donna Brennan, my mother, green ink, the same pen she used for birthday cards. 3 months earlier, they had forged my name. 3 months while I slept downstairs. But the money trail, that was worse. The first time I saw the transaction breakdown, I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even breathe for a few seconds. Rita spread the documents across her conference table like evidence in a homicide case. "Let's walk through it slowly," she said. $38,000 wired to Marcus's Visa account. Balance, 0. I could almost hear him saying it. Bonus. "This quarter, babe. Finally caught a break." $22,000 to Riverside Motors, down payment on a 2021 SUV. The one he pulled into my driveway with 2 weeks before telling me to vacate my bedroom. He had stood there, keys dangling from his finger, and said, "Hard work pays off." I had congratulated him. $15,000 withdrawn in cash by Donna Brennan, 3 separate visits, $5,000 each, $20,000 sitting in Gerald's savings account, untouched, waiting, $95,000, not for survival, not for medical bills, not for emergencies, for comfort, for image, for Marcus. Rita leaned back in her chair. "They thought because you're the responsible one, you wouldn't fight." She wasn't wrong. For 4 years, I absorbed everything. Bills, repairs, criticism, silence. But forgery? That was different. Forgery meant intent. Forgery meant planning. Forgery meant they knew it was wrong and still did it. That's when Rita said something that changed the entire strategy. Don't confront them privately. Let them finish building the lie. Before we filed anything formal, Gerald moved. He understood narrative before he understood consequences. Within 48 hours of me requesting documentation from Greenfield Credit Union, my father had called Uncle Ray, Aunt Patrice, Grandma Helen, 3 cousins, 2 family friends. His script was clean. Sabrina moved out, wants independence, young people these days. No basement mention, no bedroom eviction, no forged mortgage, just a proud father pretending to let go. The smear campaign worked. My phone filled with messages. "Family first. You're overreacting. Pregnant woman involved Sabrina. Be careful." They had weaponized optics, pregnancy, grandchild tradition. But Gerald didn't know something crucial. I had already filed the fraud complaint and the bank was already investigating. But instead of going nuclear immediately, I waited because Rita asked me one question. "When does your father have the largest audience?" I thought about it, then remembered. The baby celebration. Gerald announced it 3 days after serving the eviction notice. "Welcome, baby Brennan. Sunday, 1 p.m., 45 invitations. Catering ordered, chairs rented, pink and white balloons." It was more than a party. It was an image repair campaign. He would stand in my backyard, toast his son, celebrate the unborn grandchild, and quietly frame me as the unstable daughter who walked away. Rita looked at the calendar. "That's your courtroom." And suddenly, the plan became clear. Sunday afternoon, Maplewood Drive looked like a Hallmark movie. The maple tree had turned full orange. Tables lined the yard. Helium balloons bobbed in soft wind. Tiffany sat in a cushioned chair at the head of the main table, lavender maternity dress flowing over her belly. Marcus stood beside her, arm draped protectively. Gerald circulated confidently. Donna arranged cake slices. 45 people filled the yard. Uncle Ray, Aunt Patrice, Grandma Helen in a padded lawn chair, neighbors, co-workers, friends. Louise Beckett stood at the edge of the lawn holding lemonade, watching, always watching. At 1:15 p.m., Gerald raised a plastic cup. This house has always been about family. That was my cue. I parked 2 houses down, gray blazer, black slacks, white blouse, not emotional, not dramatic, professional. I carried a manila folder. Inside, certified deed, signature comparison, bank suspension letter, transaction breakdown, tabbed, organized, irrefutable. My hands were steady. My heartbeat was not. I walked up the sidewalk at 2:15. Conversations faded before I even reached the porch. Gerald saw me first. His face shifted. Surprise, irritation, then something new. Fear. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. "I'm at my house." He grabbed my arm. "Don't make a scene." A voice cut through. "Gerald, take your hand off that girl." Louise. He let go. 45 heads turned. This was no longer a private dispute. This was public testimony. I stepped onto the porch. 3 stairs above the yard. Full visibility. I did not shout. I didn't need to. "This house is in my name." Murmurs. "I bought it 4 years ago. FHA loan, $2,340 per month. 48 payments, $112,320. Silence thickened. My parents contributed nothing. Gerald stepped forward. "Sabrina, enough. 3 months ago, my father forged my signature on a $95,000 mortgage." The yard froze. I held up the documents. "This is my real signature." Then the forged one. "They are not the same." I lifted the bank letter. "Greenfield Credit Union has suspended the loan pending fraud investigation." Gasps. Then I read the breakdown. $38,000 to Marcus's credit card debt. Marcus's jaw tightened. $22,000 to Riverside Motors. Someone from the dealership shifted uncomfortably. $15,000 withdrawn in cash by Donna Brennan. My mother's hands trembled visibly. $20,000 currently sitting in Gerald Brennan's savings account. You could hear the wind in the trees. That was it. No embellishment, no insults, just facts. Tiffany stood slowly, her face drained white. "Tell me it's not true." Marcus said nothing. "Tell me the $38,000 isn't real." "It's complicated," he muttered. "Complicated?" Her voice cracked. "You told me it was a bonus." She looked at the SUV parked in the driveway. "You said you earned that." Marcus swallowed. After the baby what?" The entire yard flinched. "You were going to tell me after we moved into a house that isn't even ours?" She turned to Gerald. "You told me this was a family property." Gerald opened his mouth, closed it, for the first time in my life. My father had no speech, no narrative, no pivot. And then Helen spoke. Grandma Helen had been silent all afternoon, 82 years old, small, fragile looking, but when stood slowly, gripping the armrest, the yard instinctively quieted. "I did not raise you to be a thief, Gerald." The word thief hit harder than felony. "Mom, sit down." She didn't. "You stole from your daughter." Uncle Ray stepped forward slightly. Gerald looked around. The audience had shifted. No one was nodding support. No one was defending him. He sat in a folding chair, in the middle of his own party, in front of 45 witnesses. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was worse. It was silent humiliation. Tiffany walked inside. The screen door slammed. The party dissolved within 10 minutes. No cake, no congratulations, no photos. Guests collected their things, left without eye contact. The Brennan image collapsed in real time. I sat in my car down the street afterward, engine off, heart pounding. Through the window, I could see Marcus outside the nursery door, Tiffany inside. "You lied to me for 3 months. I was protecting you." "From what? The truth?" She was crying now, not soft crying, raw. "I moved into this house thinking it was stable. I defended you. I told her to leave." She meant me. Silence, then the line that changed everything. "I'm not raising my daughter in a house built on lies." Daughter. Marcus hadn't even told me the baby was a girl. That detail hurt in a strange way, but it also freed something, because that child would grow up knowing, not a false version, the real one. At 9:07 p.m., my phone rang. Gerald. His voice was cracked. You've embarrassed me. I stated facts. You could have handled this privately. You handled my eviction privately. Silence. You're tearing this family apart. No, I said calmly. You did that when you forged my name. He had no answer, and for the first time in 29 years, I wasn't afraid of him. 3 days later, Greenfield Credit Union issued formal notice. The loan was suspended. The lien would not hit. My credit. The loan officer was placed on administrative leave. Rita smiled. They picked the wrong daughter. But this wasn't over. Because the eviction clock was ticking. 30 days. And Gerald still believed I wouldn't go through with it. He was wrong. Absolutely. We're finishing this the right way. Not with shouting, not with revenge, but with the kind of silence that changes people permanently. The house on Maplewood Drive went quiet after the open house. Not peaceful quiet, the kind of quiet that follows something breaking. Neighbors stopped waving, the pink and white balloons deflated one by one, sagging against the mailbox. Marcus left first, 2 duffel bags, no goodbye, no eye contact. Tiffany had locked him out of the nursery the night of the party. By Monday morning, she was gone too. She drove to her mother's house in Worcester. 8 weeks from her due date. Gerald didn't try to stop her. That was the first sign something inside him had shifted. Because Gerald Brennan always tried to control outcomes, but control requires leverage, and he had lost his. 4 days after the party, my mother called me. Her voice wasn't dramatic. It wasn't performative crying. It sounded smaller. Your father went to see Helen today. That caught my attention. Grandma Helen had refused to answer his call since Sunday. 3 days of silence from his own mother. That mattered. What happened? I asked, but there was a pause. He thought she would defend him. Of course he did. Gerald had built his entire identity around being the dependable son, the loyal patriarch, the man who held the family together. He walked into Helen's assisted living apartment expecting comfort. Instead, he got a verdict. Donna told me later exactly what happened. Helen didn't let him speak first. She closed the door behind him and said, "Sit down." He didn't argue. That alone was telling. For 58 years, Gerald had been the loudest voice in every room, but not in his mother's. You embarrassed this family, he began. Helen held up her hand. No, you did. He tried to defend himself. It was for Marcus. And whose house was it? Helen asked. Sabrina's, he muttered. Whose name was on the loan? He didn't answer. Helen leaned forward. You didn't lose a daughter, Gerald. You lost your investment. That sentence landed heavier than anything she'd said publicly. Donna said he blinked like he hadn't understood. Helen continued, You raised Marcus to consume. You raised Sabrina to provide. And when she stopped providing, you called it betrayal. Silence, long, uncomfortable. Then she said the line that, according to my mother, broke him. You didn't steal money. You stole her trust. And that is the one thing you will never earn back. Gerald cried, not loud, not defensive, the quiet kind. The kind that sounds like someone realizing the damage is permanent. Day 30 arrived quietly. No dramatic showdown, no shouting, just law. The certified letter had been delivered. The 30-day notice expired. Rita stood beside me when we reviewed the paperwork one last time. If they don't leave today, we file with housing court tomorrow. I didn't want the court. I wanted them to walk out on their own. Not because they deserved grace, but because I deserved closure without a sheriff involved. At 3:12 p.m., my phone rang. Gerald. Where are we supposed to go? His voice was empty, not angry, not manipulative, just empty. I sent you 2 apartment listings on Elm Street. You'd really put us out? You forged my name, Dad. Silence. You have until midnight. That was it. No speech, no apology, just reality. Donna started packing first. Gerald sat in his recliner, the same recliner he brought into my house 4 years earlier. He watched her wrap dishes in newspaper, watched the ceramic roosters go back into boxes, watched the life he'd assumed was permanent collapse into cardboard. He didn't say thank you. He didn't say sorry. He didn't say anything. Marcus came by briefly to grab the last of his belongings. He avoided my eyes. For once, there was no pitch, no manipulation, just quiet defeat. By sunset, the driveway was empty. The house was mine again, fully, legally, emotionally. But I didn't go inside immediately. I stood in the yard under the maple tree, leaves falling around me. 4 years of investment, 4 years of effort, 4 years of trying to prove I was enough. And I realized something that felt both freeing and devastating. I never needed to prove anything. They needed me to stay useful. Greenfield Credit Union completed its investigation 6 weeks later. The forged loan was voided, the lien removed entirely from property records. The loan officer terminated. My credit score climbed to 774. Rita asked me the final question. Do you want to press charges? Forgery in Massachusetts is a felony. Marcus could face fraud charges. Gerald could face prison. I thought about it long, but here's what I realized. I didn't need punishment. I needed distance. I needed my name back, and I had it. Rita sent Gerald one final letter. This decision not to pursue charges is a courtesy, not an entitlement. He never responded. 2 months later, Tiffany called. Not defensive, not accusatory, exhausted. I had the baby. A girl. Lily Mae Brennan. She has your eyes, Tiffany said softly. I didn't know how to respond. Then she said something unexpected. I'm filing for separation. Marcus had told her the car money was a dealer bonus. He had never admitted the truth until she saw the documents. I told you to leave your own house, she said quietly. I didn't know it was yours. I believed what I was told because it was easier. That sentence mattered, because that's how systems survive, through convenience. I'm not raising her in that pattern, she said. That's when I felt it. Not triumph, relief, because maybe Lily would grow up without learning that daughters provide and sons consume. 6 months after the open house, I moved back into 147 Maplewood Drive. My key, my door, my silence. The house felt different, not empty, just reset. I repainted every room. The nursery became an office. The basement got new flooring, proper lighting, no more exposed pipes. Louise came over with a lavender plant. Welcome home, she said. For real this time. I laughed, because she was right. The first time I moved in, I brought my family. The second time, I brought myself. 3 months later, I wrote one final email to Gerald, to Donna, to Marcus. It took 4 hours, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I needed every word to mean exactly what it meant. 3 sections. Financial. I will not provide financial support. Contact. Communication is welcome under boundaries. No guilt. No demands. Future. Trust must be rebuilt through action, not words. I pressed send. Gerald never replied. Donna wrote, I understand. I'm sorry. Marcus responded 2 weeks later. I get it. Which might have been growth or exhaustion, but I stopped needing to know. I met Lily in a coffee shop, neutral ground, public. Marcus handed her to me carefully. She was small, warm, asleep. And I felt something strange. Not loss, not anger, perspective. I didn't lose a family. I lost a version of family that required me to finance my own dismissal, and I built something healthier in its place. Gerald lives in a 1-bedroom apartment on Elm Street. He calls once a month, short conversations, no demands, no speeches, just updates about the weather. Sometimes silence is growth, sometimes it's resignation. Either way, it's no longer my responsibility. For 4 years, I thought love meant sacrifice, that if I paid enough, fixed enough, proved enough, they would see me. But here's what I know now. If someone only values you when you're useful, they don't value you. They value your utility. And the moment you stop funding the lie, that's when your real life begins. If you're watching this and you feel like infrastructure, if you're paying for a house you're not allowed to live in, if you've been told you're selfish the moment you set a boundary, you're not selfish. You're done. And done is powerful. If this story hit you, like the video. Subscribe if you want more stories about boundaries that changed everything, and tell me in the comments, have you ever had to choose your name over your family? I read every single one, and I'll see you in the next story.